Hey, I want to welcome Kennesaw Happenings podcast in the studio, an old friend of mine of 10 years plus. So we did a Zoom a while back. So I said, Jim, you got to come into the studio this time. So I twisted his arm on a freezing day to come. Now I had to tie in lunch afterwards, or I probably wouldn't have got him here. So Jim, for the ones that don't know you in the Kennesaw area, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Okay, thanks, Pete. Thanks for having me. I know I've been giving you a hard time to get here. Things come up.
It's okay.
Jim Raps, Riddley Commercial Cleaning. We are based in Kennesaw. Our office is on Shiloh Road. I live in Kennesaw. I run the business with my daughter, Melissa. I've been doing this well over 40 years. We serve the commercial office space, or just really not even offices, but the commercial space. We have a wide variety of clients and buildings that we maintain all over the state. We even go into Tennessee and Alabama, and we have a big job next week in North Carolina. So we have a pretty good reach with that.
Well, I have experience with you personally for what you did for a client that you have now and have had for several years. And I remember when we first started, there was a lot of opportunities because what they had in there, they didn't do like the details of things. It's just kind of, I call it surface cleaning.
Yeah.
So tell our viewers, like, I like to say, one, you have this business as a family business with Melissa. So what is it? How does that play out as far as working with a family member and also working in a very competitive market with corporate cleaning and all that? So tell our viewers a little bit about what do you see as your uniqueness out there?
Well, the family business is both a blessing and a curse at times, because there may be things you'd like to say, but you don't say. But we're pretty much past that, and it works well. We're very different from a franchise. We have the ability to make decisions, and customer service is number one. We just try to do things right, Pete. I don't know if I'm completely answering your question.
No, you
we
are.
Just try to do things right. And we understand that when you have, as you grow a service business, you get more employees and some subcontractors to do specialty work. And they're good people, but they're not always going to do the job the way that we want it to be done. But we give the great customer service on top of that. And going back to the to be unnamed client that you're talking about, that we still clean, by the way, it's been many years. And that I like that when we have accounts for many years, because it says something about how we manage the process as well. When some of our competitors or some people in our industry will go into a building, they don't see the deep down stuff. They're just talking about emptying trash cans and cleaning your bathrooms and that kind of thing, which we do. But sometimes there's quarterly maintenance that needs to be scheduled to get the deep down stuff that quite frankly, not all clients want to pay for week to week, month to month, that you got to attack every now and then. And some people, it's kind of, I look at it like a menu in a restaurant. Right. So there's certain offerings that we have. It's up to the client to choose what they want. So some want you to go inside the refrigerator and clean that every service. Others don't want you to ever touch it. So you have to adapt to whatever the client wants, and we do that pretty well. So I write all the scope of works. Is that the way you say it? Scopes of work?
Yeah.
And it's I don't think any two are the same, because you have to listen to what they want. You write that scope of work, you attach a number to it. They say, yes, we come in and we do it. And it by and large works very well.
What would you say, like, how did you get in the commercial cleaning business? And when did you do that?
Wow. I'll try to give the short version. Back in 1976, my dad owned a luncheonette. And some of us old timers might remember what luncheonettes are. I don't think they exist anymore, but basically a breakfast and lunch place. It was on the Jersey Shore, the real Jersey Shore, not that dumb TV show, right? And and the guy that was waxing the floors, Bruce, stopped showing up. So my dad looked at me one day and he goes, "Jimmy, do the floors." And so you didn't argue with my dad back then. He just, that wasn't a thing. So I had to learn how to do it. And that was in the days where we used paste wax. It came in those 5-gallon kind of black cans that you had to pry the top, like roof tar. You'd have to pry the tops off with a screwdriver, and you'd take the paste wax out with a putty knife and slap it on the floor, and you'd buff it in with number 2 steel wool. And then I taught myself how to do all that. And customers started coming in and saying, "Hey, John, who does your floors?" And he'd say, my son Jimmy does it. And so I ended up doing the bike shop and the laundromat and the bakery and all kinds of places around there for that. And then that kind of morphed into the office cleaning, which was to me easier than doing the floors. And I also did a lot of carpet cleaning back then. And I had a gentleman, Tom, who's passed away now, but he was a mentor of mine. And he taught me all the carpet cleaning and the furniture cleaning and all that. So that's how I started it. That's 1976. And I've been doing it ever since.
So for our, viewers out there that are starting out, I know one of the key things that have made you successful is your relationships. What would you tell the person starting out a couple years in the business? How do you value that, and how does it work within your business?
Yeah, and that's also a good question. There's one young guy we both know well that I've tried to take under my wing. He doesn't always listen to everything, but he's a good guy. And there's others that I have mentored, and I still do in the business. It's all about the relationships, all right? Because again, going back to what I said a few minutes ago, if you're doing this long enough, and if you have an account long enough, your people will screw up.
Right.
They're going to do something wrong. They're going to miss a service. They're going to miss a trash can. They forget to set the alarm. There's things that you can't control, but what you can control is how quickly and how you respond and how you respond, and that how you make it better, how you fix it, and you don't give excuses, you just fix it. So the relationship's what it's all about. And I do network, as you know, and that's to develop those relationships and to get those referrals, because referrals carry a lot more weight than leads do, right? So the referral is good. And it's been years since I've actually gone out and, for lack of a better word, solicit work. The work comes to us, and I'm not bragging. It just comes to us because of the reputation that we've built.
Right. And I like it, without naming names. This was a couple years ago. We were talking, and there was a large client of yours. And sometimes, and this is where I want you to kind of address, you ended up resigning the client.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Now, it was a large client.
It's very difficult. One of our largest, yeah.
So what lesson would you share with our viewers? Because money's money, and you're building a business. What was the mindset going into something like that our viewers can understand?
That was hard. That was hard because we had the account for about 3 years. We did a good job. We had an employee, unfortunately, that was in there for a while, and then he ended up committing suicide, which was tragic. And we recovered, and we had a new person in there. But what happened in all of that was the management company that was managing the building, it was a 20-story building, they changed managers, and the manager was very, very, very difficult to work with. She was demeaning. She talked down to us. She talked down to our people. And there was a total lack of give and take and respect. And I believe strongly in the golden rule. You treat people how you want to be treated. And I didn't like not only how she talked to me, I didn't like how she talked to my daughter. I didn't like how she talked to our employees in the building. And so we quit. And that was tough to do. But you know what? It was also very freeing once it was done. And I think it was I know it was the right move to make. You've got to look, our business doesn't garner a lot of respect. We're janitors. I've been used to that for a long, long time. People kind of look at you as like, okay, you're a janitor, anybody can clean. Well, not really. And not everybody can clean for profit and build a strong business doing it. A lot fail all the time. You don't just treat people the right way. That's all. And that's what we weren't getting there. I forgot all about that, by the way. You remembered that story. Yeah.
No, it was, and it stuck out in my mind because, not to tell our viewers the numbers, but you had shared with me, and it's not like I had a gentleman, Neil O'Brien, and he has a thing called whales and sardines. And so the whales are a big part of your business. The sardines are, some people call them clients with fleas. I forget what we used it in the food service business.
They're very salty. I know that.
Yes, yeah. Salt, and that sardines are salty. Yeah. So you want to focus on the part of your business that they're fun to be with. There's a good relationship, and you enjoy being around. Now, when you were telling me, as we were talking about that situation, just what you described to our viewers, giving you a hard time, giving Melissa a hard time, giving your employees a hard time, that is aggravation that goes on up here.
Yeah.
And it drains you because that phone's ringing and it's that person and they're going to give you the riot act. What does it do to you, a business owner?
Yeah.
It drags you down.
It does.
And so you have to identify, as he called it, sardines that you kind of like gracefully pass them on to other people, other problems to other people. Yeah. So what would you say besides that? What would you tell our viewers? What success principles? Because you've been in business, if I can run my numbers, over 40 years in this industry. Not that I'm giving our viewers your age or anything, but you said 70, you said the 70s that you started. So you don't last that long without some basic principles. What would you say is your number 1 and 2 principle that you've practiced to live in an industry that's tough?
Okay, so that's a hard question. And so anybody watching or listening to this, we didn't plan anything that we're talking about here. So that's a tough question for me to answer. But if you're going to put a gun to my head, the number 1 thing is keep God first, family second, and business third, and try your best to keep them all the same, if that makes any sense. I believe in doing the right thing. That's really all it is. I mean, and sometimes you can't. Sometimes you come across impossible situations with family and with business, right? And we've discussed some of those. But if you keep that first and foremost and try to keep it, I think, for me anyway, in that order, it works. And you got to understand and accept, which is also tough, that you cannot please everyone. You can't. And so then you move on. And I will say, back to that last story, it's easier for me to do now at my age than it would have been 30 years ago. Right. So when you get a little older, you don't want to take guff from anybody. You don't want to be treated that way. So that I guess that's it.
Yeah. No, it's a good one. I mean, I think if a mindset of let's just say 30, I'm just going to throw that for you to shine on that and say it would have been real hard at 30 because you're thinking, one, you got more financial responsibility.
You got young kids at home.
Young kids. And your wife's saying like, hey, Jim, keep the money going. Tennis shoes aren't cheap, either are books, either are all this stuff. So the pressures can be quite a bit more, but you're saying like treat people right.
Yeah.
And you have that respect for that. And how long after you gave up that account? And I know you're a bookkeeper, so I know you know the numbers generally. So tell me, how long did it take for you to replace that income and exceed it? Was there
a couple of months?
Really?
It didn't take long at all.
Yeah,
it didn't take long at all, and that's the thing that that I kind of was confident in that. Look, I can get business. I don't normally have trouble getting business. It's getting the good people to work with you and getting the work done. Sometimes when you make a decision like that and you kind of take that weight off your shoulders and get rid of something that was holding you back, and you're right, it was aggravating. There was one night I was sitting at home. My wife and I watch Jeopardy every night that we can, and we're watching Jeopardy, and I got a call from that manager. And she's sending me pictures to my phone of a wall in a stairwell with mold on it, a painted cinder block wall. That's not even our area of responsibility. We don't even clean out there. That's not part of our job. So, but what I did is I immediately contacted my guy in the building, Jeff, and I asked him to please get on that in the morning and clean it. So he did, and he cleaned it. And then she got upset that we cleaned it. And I'm like, why are you upset? Well, because I had the mold company coming over and I wanted them to see it. I said, show them the pictures and the mold's going to come back. If you don't fix the source of the mold, it's just going to come back again. Right. So getting rid of a problem like that, getting rid of that stress, it's like you kind of float a little bit.
Right. I know we were talking, it was during the holidays. You did something that I think our viewers might be interested in. You had a get together for your team. So how often do you like socially bring them together, or was that an event that helped you, like, just explain why you do something like that?
Well, we don't do it enough, and it's difficult because understand that we have buildings all over the place that get cleaned at all different hours and all different times of the day and night. So bringing people in together is almost impossible, because no matter what time you'd schedule something, some people can't make it. So sometimes you got to do it in parts. But that was just a Christmas party at the office. That's all it was a Christmas party at the office. Yeah. And most of them made it, and some didn't. We even invited in some of our top subcontractors that do good work for us. Most of the work we do direct hire, but we do use subcontractors for certain reasons, carpet cleaning and, major high dusting stuff, large window jobs, that kind of thing. But it's important to recognize people. And I learned a long time ago that money is not the number one motivating factor to keeping good people. It's making them feel like they have value. It's appreciating. Okay. And we don't get a lot of that in our industry. So we have to go out of our way to make sure that people know we appreciate them. And it's genuine. We're not just doing it. It's not fluff. We do, because we could not grow a company without them. We're nothing without them.
Yeah. And I remember another thing you said years ago, a couple of years when we were in B&I. You knew your numbers, and you had invested in a bookkeeper or accountant that we know very well. So I didn't until this year make that plunge, but knowing my numbers has given me extreme confidence. So one, give that person a shout out. And what has that person meant to you as far as a business owner, and how has it helped you in the decision-making process?
Okay, so first of all, Jerome O'Burleton is his name, FinQuest Bookkeeping Services and Accounting. He's an extremely intelligent guy. He's a Harvard graduate. I resisted turning that part over because it's kind of getting naked in front of somebody. You got to show them your numbers. Right. You got to give up some of that. And it's hard for a business owner to do something like that. Right. I trusted Jerome. He started visiting our B&I group in Smyrna. And then as I got to know him, I felt more comfortable with it. And I got to tell you at this point, Pete, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made as a business owner. Right. Having the right CPA is also another very important thing. And I have that guy. He's also a former B&I guy. But Jerome is still in the chapter in the B&I group with me. And he makes a world of difference. And he explains things to me at a level that my limitations can understand. Right. And we've since become friends as well. He and his wife and my wife and I have had dinner several times, and he's just it's a great move. If you've got a small business and you don't have enough staff, like some businesses are large enough and one of the business owners, sometimes a husband or a wife or some employee is really good at that, then it's fine. But if that's a limitation that you have, hire a good bookkeeping service. And I would highly recommend Jerome to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I didn't see it until, I made a lot of mistakes. And you're right. I love your analogy. It's like you're naked out there. Yeah. No business owner likes to be that, doesn't like the transparency when all of a sudden it can expose you. Right. But by doing that, would you say that your business has grown as a result of knowing those numbers? Maybe for the people that are not doing it.
Yeah.
When you made that transition back years ago with Jerome, what did you see as a result of stepping out on faith?
Well, I don't think you can know. I don't think you can have dreams and you can have goals, but it's very difficult to hit your goals if you don't know what your numbers are, if you don't know where you are now. Right. You've got to understand it. You've got, and it's not like he's babysitting us and saying you can't spend this or you can't spend that, but he gives sound advice on that. And it's kind of good in a way because he kind of holds me accountable for some things, because sometimes I can go a little crazy and spend money that I shouldn't spend. So that's good. And also what's a good dynamic to it is that he works very well with my CPA, with Rick. They're close and they do a lot of work together for other clients as well. So, and it helps when you need a business loan or something. And all I have to do is say, Jerome, I need this, I need that. And you've got it. And for somebody, again, like me, who, I mean, I'm not a dummy, but I have my strengths and I have my weaknesses. And I always believe in business, what do well, get somebody who does and focus on what you do well. And that's not my strength, but I feel like Riddley is well positioned now and for the future, because we have those guys that can do that for us and keep us healthy.
And then last question I want to ask you, because relationships, I think we both agree, are real important. And you have had a philosophy of surrounding yourself with people that are helping you in the business. So we both met years after we knew each other at B&I. Now, how many people do you have at B&I right now?
Wow. We've lost a few recently because they left their company or whatever happened. We've got 3 applications in now. I just heard this morning, we're getting close to 70 members. It's the largest chapter in the state.
What does that mean to your business to have 70 relationships in a business? Because you're an entrepreneur, you don't have a big time staff of all these people. How has that helped you in growing your business and really navigating the maze of things out there?
Well, first of all, I'll say that B&I is not for everybody. And if somebody from B&I that bleeds B&I is listening, I'm sorry, but I'm being honest. You've got to follow the rules, so to speak, and there's simple rules. There's basically 5 metrics you follow, and if you follow it, it works. That's it. It works well. The relationships are everything. In my business, I've tried several times to find a good salesperson, and they're hard to find. I sell it better than anybody I've found, so I just keep doing it myself. Where I'm trying to shore up is the operation side and get myself more out of that so I can sell more. With B&I and any good networking group, and it's closed networking, which is to me better than open, you have a protected seat. You've got 60, 70 other people in that room. That's job really is to help you find work. And your job is to help them find work. And it works very well. It's not as hard as some people listening to this might think it is. But it's kind of like your sales team. Rick Anderson. Okay. Rick Anderson stands up every week and the first thing he says is, "Good morning, sales team," because that's the way you look at it. They're your sales force. They're your sales team. So and it's not just that either. Today, we had a new member that turned out he was a dynamic speaker. He was very good, and I should introduce you to him, and I will. But he invited like 6 people into the room. And then with the other people, we had about a dozen visitors today. So it's not just the members that heard my presentation this morning. It was about 12 other people as well. I have done a ton of business with Must Ministries because probably 11 years ago, a lady from their group, it's a long story, but a lady from their group was visiting our chapter and heard me speak. I was speaking that day. I did my full presentation that day. And that led into a lot of work with a great organization. So that's how it happens. One person tells another person. It really works.
Yeah, I know a gentleman, and Gary, I'll give you a shout out. Gary Graves was corporate. So he was always traveling all over the country. He hired his friend Doug, who was connected, and you know Doug Crumley, because Doug's
in the same industry I'm in.
Yeah. So Doug is like he understands local because he's been local. So I think, a person buys a franchise that have never plugged into the local network. It's strange. It's like you're not used to building the local relationships. So we'll finish up. If somebody's interested, like they've been national their whole career and now they're shifting to a local focus, can they contact you and be able to kind of, I think it's so important to know your options and know how networking works and know how the relationships locally works. So why don't you give our viewers how to contact you and what would be the best way to do that?
Okay, so again, I'm not going to get into it now because you touched on something else I could talk about forever, and that's the franchise model as opposed to the privately owned model, so to speak. There's nothing wrong with the franchise model. It depends on the franchisee.
Yeah,
it depends on how they run it, right? And there's some very good ones, and I've talked to Doug many times. Doug seems like a good guy. Seems like he knows what he's doing. He is a competitor, so I'll always keep that in mind. But no, he's a good guy. Simply, you can call me at 404-309-6093. That's my cell phone. So it's 404-309-6093. I'm not going to give you the email and all that stuff, but our offices are on Shiloh Road in Kennesaw. You can look us up at, RiddleyLLC.com. We just had a new website built, by the way. And if you Google my name, Jim Wraps, you're going to get some LeBron James wrapping something. You will see that, but basically you're going to find me as well. Because you could also find it under James Wraps, Jim Wraps, whatever, and you'll see some stuff and some things I've done with you, Pete, on there. And hey, look, just all I'm asking for is a shot. And I'm not, I'm not even looking for, wow, we desperately need a cleaning service. You might be okay with your service right now. Call me in anyway. I'll talk to you. I'll consult with you. I'll answer your questions. I'll give you a free, truly free, no obligation proposal. It'll be emailed to you, and that very nice proposal, and you can just have us there kind of as your bench strength. And if number one ends up, screwing up, or you want to make a change one day, then I'm there, and at least we have that relationship.
Awesome, and we'll put in the show notes your links so if you're driving, I don't want you to stop, be distracted in Atlanta traffic.
See, these days, Pete, all you have to do is know Riddley Commercial Cleaning. There, see, and you from anybody's phone, you Google it. You don't even need a phone number anymore. That's all you need. And
give us. I love your jingle. So tell us.
So I can't take full credit for it because Jeff Dax, who's a superb business attorney, said to me one day, "Diddley, Riddley, Diddley, Riddley. There's something there." So I came up with, you don't know Diddley till you call Riddley.
Yeah, I love it.
And I say that at the end of every talk, and it sticks in people's minds. It's something for them to remember. True. Yeah.
Because I think our brain always works on jingles. I remember jingles like Winston tastes good, like a
cigarette should.
Yeah, we're old enough. We can know that. Yeah. You said anybody under 40, you say that, they look at you with three eyes.
Absolutely.
So that is a good jingle.
Yeah.
So Jim, what would you want our viewers to take home from this podcast? What insight and lesson would you want to?
It's tough. I don't know. We're good at what we do. A building should be clean. It should be healthy. If COVID didn't make everybody understand that, then nothing will. But people have short memories. I can't believe the generation of people I see today that don't even remember 9/11. Okay, and it's burned in my mind like nothing else. But people don't even remember that. So they're already forgetting COVID and some of the lessons we learned in COVID. But cleaning and having sanitized building. We also do electrostatic disinfection services. You owe your staff and yourself a clean, healthy environment to work in. That's probably the biggest.
Totally. We had RJ Patel, and he has a cleaning.
Yep, RJ's good.
Yeah, and so he was talking about feng shui and the work environment.
Yeah, that's
and
a little over my head. I don't.
Yeah, it is to me. I called him the other day. I said, "Would you mind coming back? Because I'm interested in the.
Mm-hmm.
I always love the productivity and the environment that we work in is so critical. And you had said this way back when is you have your employees out there, it's to your advantage to put them in an environment of clean, healthy environment.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you, Jim, for being a guest on our podcast. And we love to have you back because you're not that far away now that you know how to get to the studio.
Right down the street.
And if you're out there listening, share this with somebody that you think need to know from a person that's 40 plus years in the industry and still believes in the family business, because in the age of corporations and all that, a lot of times our family run businesses don't get the respect that we want them to, because most businesses are small in America anyway. All right. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Pete.
Appreciate
it.
that.
All right. Bye now.